Hey, welcome into the Snap, episode 222, week 15. The fantasy playoffs are here. Congratulations if you made it in, whether you grinded out that spot or you earned that bye week. Enjoy week 15 in all its glory and pain and struggle and fortune. It's a great time to be a fantasy football player. And I got my guy Lando here, as always, ready to hold it down, answer your questions, and get you locked and loaded for your quarterfinal week. Lando, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Congrats to everyone that made the fantasy playoffs. A lot of you may have been limping in. It feels like my teams are not up to full strength right now, but that's
Same.
why we're here. That's why we're here answering your questions. Regardless of when you ask the question, we'll get back to you. So get us in the comments. Give us all the advice or information you have about your matchup. Projected to win. Good. I don't even know where I was going with that now. Everything again, scoring format, PPR, half PPR, anything you need. This week is really what matters. You don't have to worry about week 17 because you got to get there first. Congrats to everyone that has a bye, because I feel like this week is not shaping up that great.
No, this one, there's some tough matchups. Good players, tough matchups. We're going to get some questions about Joe Mixon against the Bucks is one that I can think of off the top of my head. What's another one that's tough? Josh Jacobs plays the Patriots. That one's going to be, if you have Josh Jacobs, you're playing him. Aaron Jones against the Rams. There's
Dolphins against the Bills and potentially a weather game. We have the Lions versus the Jets. That's also a potential weather game as well. Some tough start sits this week, so I can't wait to get into it with everyone here.
Yes. Speaking of limping in, I have limped myself into the playoffs in a very competitive dynasty league, but lost Lamar Jackson, Ken Walker, and Deebo Samuel the past week. So that's been a tough go. All the players I traded for, I'm now back to square one with my old team. So we're gonna have to see if we can get it done.
Hopefully you didn't lose on the back of Kyler Murray going out Monday night after a few plays. That was a tough one. He tore his ACL. He's not going to be back to start next season. So that's going to be one of those really tough decisions on should you even be drafting Kyler Murray next year when it comes down to it. And his value in Dynasty is that something Mack and I will discuss throughout the offseason.
Sure.
We do take a bit of a break, but we are always available on our Discord. So if you want to keep in touch with the guys, join our Discord. We'll set a link in the chat here on the side. And either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got to talk about the playoffs now. I shouldn't be talking about next year, I guess.
No, but I believe Kyler's under contract until 2028. So,
he's
around for the long haul. So, let's get to a question off the top from one of our YouTube members here, Easy Eric Zubert. What are your favorite strategies in the playoffs? I like winning is good. That's my favorite strategy.
That's if you could really try to win. That's my favorite strategy. Trying hard.
Try as hard as you can.
Yeah, and then win. So yeah, that's
it's tough strategically. Obviously you got to play the guys that helped you get there. Sometimes it's fun to tinker. Should I play Jamal Williams this week against the Jets, or should I go with Zonovan Knight on the other side? It's like that's a tough decision. Jamal Williams has been the guy that's helped get you there. But usually my rule of thumb is start your studs, start the guys that have got you there, like an Alvin Kamara, who we're going to talk about today, who's let you down the last couple weeks, but he plays Atlanta. Plays Atlanta this week. Matchup couldn't be better.
Man,
stick to those studs.
That is hard to do sometimes.
It is. It's really tough.
The thing is, you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of this week and say, why did I start the guy I added off waivers? Because he had a good week in week 14, and I could have started my quote-unquote stud with a tough matchup. And that's something we're going to discuss.
Perfect example.
Elite players. Sorry, what?
Perfect example right here. In a PPR league, Evan Ingram's coming off a 41-point performance. Right? 11 for 162 and 2 touchdowns. You've got Mark Andrews on your bench, who's been disappointing you. you go ahead and you scoop him off waivers, you burn your priority, you spend top fab to get Evan Ingram on your team, and you roll him out in quarterfinals, week 15 playoffs, and then Mark Andrews does what Mark Andrews does, and Evan Ingram has a dud game, and you're just like, why did I do that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this week it's definitely easier to get off of Evan Ingram because they play the Cowboys, one of the best teams against the tight end. I've already answered some of those actual questions on our YouTube because I did a video about Mark Andrews, and there's a lot of reasons to go away from him.
Sure.
Potential third string quarterback. He hasn't been elite like we thought he was, and just a matchup. Who do they play again? They play the. Why can't I see it?
So are you talking about Evan Ingram?
The Ravens. Well, they play the Browns, which the matchup isn't bad.
Oh, you're talking about Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
they
so
play,
reasons
the
to
Cleveland
sit.
Browns a good matchup.
Reasons to sit Mark Andrews is what I'm getting to. But I mean, at the end of the day, you need to be able to be bold and look yourself in the mirror, like I just said. And can you live with yourself sitting down your stud that you probably drafted or traded highly for to be that positional advantage if they turn out just to be that elite guy that you thought they were all along? So
right,
we're gonna have to sit with some tough decisions. It's the most important week of the year right now for a lot of players.
If you play in a league with defenses and you've already locked yourself up a bye week this week, I'm looking ahead to week 16 matchups so that I can get this week. For example, Tennessee Titans play the Houston Texans in week 16. I'm stashing that defense. The Kansas City Chiefs, one we kind of tuned you on to a couple weeks ago. They have a great schedule. They play Houston this week. They play Denver again. And they also have another good matchup. They're a plug and play defense the rest of the way. So
yeah,
I'm looking in those leagues that I roll defenses. I'm looking ahead to week 16. I'm also just trying to get a defense I can plug in for the rest.
That's a great strategy. There's a lot of good streaming defenses this week, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I will be recording some rankings videos as well. So if you're watching this after the fact, check our YouTube. We'll probably have some up-to-date rankings videos coming out very shortly.
Cool. We are going to get to questions in the comments. If you want to go ahead and put them there, you know the drill. We'll get to them when we can, probably in about half-hour time, maybe even sooner. But number one, I want to talk about some players who are on the bubble right now. You know, what do we do with them? We'll call them the Bubble Boys. Bubble Boy number one, what do you do with Tee Higgins going into week 15? Do you roll him out? Do you give him a pass? Or do you say, you know what? I can't take the chance that Zach Taylor is going to do this to me for the not second, but third time. If he does it again to us this week, Tee Higgins already has been off the injury report and not played significant snaps twice already this year.
So I'm going to check into the practice reports this week. If he logs a full practice at some point this week, I am going to start Tee Higgins with confidence. Okay. If he is limited all week, it doesn't matter. If he turns to be healthy game day, I am going to sit down Tee Higgins because of the fact that it could be a good game against the Bucs, but the Bucs defense isn't what it used to be.
No.
So it's not that daunting defense. The fact that Tom Brady can't sustain a drive for half the game or for most of these games just gives the Bengals more opportunities to score. Joe Burrow has been on fire. I expect Jamar, Higgins, Mixon even, and we'll talk about him in a second, to all have good games this week. It's going to be good, I think, for Tee Higgins. You just need to stick with him because he really is that good when he's fully healthy. You hate what Zach Taylor did this past week. I don't think it's an indictment on Tee Higgins. I think it's more on the coach.
Yeah, he's done it twice. Off the injury report. Apparently had he was supposed to have a pregame go, whether he was going to play or not. We didn't get any news from any beat reporters, any, insiders that Tee Higgins was going to be out. And apparently the one snap that he did play, he snuck onto the field. Zach Taylor was not going to play him whatsoever. So it's a little bit disappointing. It kind of feels like a trap with Tee Higgins. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I agree with you. Their defense is getting a little bit beat up because the offense can't sustain a drive. They're giving up 27 points a game to opposing fantasy wide receivers. It's a tough unit to lock down. Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins, if he plays, a couple other pass catchers have stepped up, and then you've got Joe Mixon to honor the run. So it's a lot to hang with defensively. I think it's a good matchup for the Bengals, especially if they can keep that offense on the field. So I'm probably looking for other options this week with Tee Higgins, but you're right. I am going to look at the practice report, but clearly this week that meant nothing.
Well, no, he didn't practice. That was the thing. He didn't have a full practice, I don't think.
But coming off the injury report, you figured all as well.
Yeah, but I'm talking specifically about practice reports. So if he logs a full practice,
sure,
like he didn't do last week, then I'm actually have the confidence. So, I mean, you're right. We will see what happens. How far down are you willing to go if you're looking elsewhere for than Tee Higgins? Like, would you?
Yeah, are you like specifically just the wide receiver position?
Yeah, Godwin or Higgins in the same matchup.
I'll play Godwin.
Brandon Ayuk at Seattle.
With Debo out, I'll play Ayuk.
Mike Evans.
I'll take some. I'll play Mike Evans as well.
We have a question about Jerry Jeudy actually in the chat. Would you start Jeudy with a backup quarterback or Tee Higgins?
Him and Rippon connected for a touchdown. I have some faith that he'll get all the volume, especially with Courtland Sutton out. So yeah, I'll take Jerry Jeudy as well.
Michael Pittman at Minnesota, one of the best defenses to target.
Absolutely. They are giving up 34 points to opposing fantasy wide receivers. That is the second most currently through 14 weeks. So yeah, this is a matchup that I'm absolutely targeting. I would go there.
Marquise Brown with the backup quarterback or Tee Higgins.
Put some respect on Colt McCoy. I'll take Hollywood.
I got to find out where this line is. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had a really big game this past week, or Tee Higgins.
That's we're getting close to the line here.
Okay. So you're actually sitting Tee Higgins. He's probably outside your top 30 rankings.
Yeah, like who else do we have around this range? Because
like Zay Jones?
Zay Jones against Dallas, tougher matchup. What about an Allen Lazard against the Rams?
Yeah, that's
I like Allen Lazard.
Oh wow. What about Deontay?
Deontay's a tough one, man, because he hasn't gotten to the end zone, so his touchdown upside is literally 0. Whereas Tee Higgins still maintains that if he plays. Another guy from this group, I like Adam Thielen against the Colts. I would play him over Tee Higgins as well.
Mike Williams.
Of course, Mike Williams is elite. Like I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Right. Not at all fraudulent. He's the most legit wide receiver in the
literally league. Like 2 catches into the game, I put into our like longest fantasy football league, guys I played, since grade 9 of high school, which I won't tell you how long ago that was, but I just put Mike Williams as a fraud, and then he goes on to help me win a matchup. Let's move on.
You should have got clowned on, but everyone stayed silent.
Agreed. Yeah. Let's move on to number 2, Bubble Boy, JK Dobbins. Now this is the inverse of Tee Higgins. Tee Higgins we've been let down by, but JK Dobbins coming back from injury. We haven't seen him play a game since week 6. He played 27% of snaps in week 6 against the Giants, had 7 attempts for 15 yards. Woof. But now we saw JK Dobbins 15 for 120, scored a touchdown, split the work with Gus Edwards. He only played 43% of snaps, but against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is an honorable effort. Goes up against Cleveland this week, week 15, then has Atlanta and Pittsburgh again. Is JK Dobbins a sneaky start here in the fantasy playoffs, and are you willing to trust him?
Man, that's really tough.
It is.
On the other side, Gus Edwards had 13 carries. They are probably having a third string quarterback start for them. We're still not sure the status of Hunley. Doesn't look too good, but I know it's not a 0% chance that he does play.
Yeah.
Which probably leads more to them leaning on the run.
Agreed.
So Dobbins, that clip went viral about him kind of and like getting chased down. And it turns out he just ran out of gas. He ran out of juice. He commented on that play. People thought he was injured, that he really hurt his
Looked like he
knee.
was
Could have been a
limping, full speed limping.
yeah. So apparently he was just mad that he was exhausted and out of fumes,
Uh,
and he just like let the guys catch him, and then went out, caught his breath, got that touchdown. It was great to see JK Dobbins. Hopefully he gets back into shape. That's what he said. He's like,
sure.
hopefully these 100-yard games turn into 200-yard games.
Okay, slow down. Let's just get
Right.
on the field for 50% of the snaps, JK.
Seriously. So 43% played. Gus Edwards only played 34%. So it's going to be a pretty split backfield, I think.
Sure. But if you can get the bigger breakaway play from JK Dobbins, if you can get into the end zone, you're going to be happy. And yeah, if they can't have Tyler Huntley come back from his concussion or Lamar Jackson make progress this week, and they're relying on a third string quarterback, the game plan probably should be on the ground. And to give you some context here, the Cleveland Browns are giving up 25 fantasy points to opposing running backs per game this year. Through 14 weeks, that is the third most. The only two teams that are allowing more on the ground are the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks. So you want to talk about a plus matchup for a guy who's gaining some confidence? JK Dobbins is in a smash spot.
He very, very well could be. Who are you fading? Are any of the big stud running backs that you're willing to actually fade in place of J.K. Dobbins? Like Saquon Barkley and Travis Etienne are good examples of guys that have really disappointed lately. Both are really tough matchups.
Sure.
And then you have a guy like J.K. Dobbins that was probably on your bench. I see Piero here started him last week, which is great to see.
Beautiful play.
Some people started him.
Yeah.
But are you willing to sit down your stud in place of a guy that has a good matchup and maybe a good opportunity as well?
I think somebody like a James Conner at Denver, I'd be willing to go JK Dobbins over him. I think David Montgomery at versus Philly is going to be a tough matchup as well. DeAndre Swift is such a tough one because of the work he gets in the passing game. But man, like Travis Etienne against Dallas, I could see a fade as well. Connor, Montgomery, and Etienne all have tough matchups. I'd be willing to maybe elevate J.K. Dobbins, at least into the conversation.
Zonovan Knight or J.K. Dobbins?
I would roll J.K. Dobbins. Whew. I would. The matchup is so good.
For Zonovan Knight?
No. The other way around.
Zonovan Knight plays the Lions.
Yep, Detroit Lions.
Yep.
How many points per game are the Detroit Lions giving up to opposing running backs?
I don't have that number in front of me. Do you?
Yeah, the 22nd most. So they are a top 10 defense against the run for fantasy purposes anyways.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
I mean, the Lions are 5-1 in the last 6. They've been playing good football.
They have been playing good football.
They really have been. Let's move on to our third bubble boy of the week. And this one might have to extend itself past this week because we don't know his current status, whether he's going to be playing or not. But Kenneth Walker. What are we doing with Kenneth Walker this week and moving forward? If he plays this week, and if he does play, it'll be on a Thursday, an early week against the San Francisco 49ers. Are you willing to roll Kenneth Walker out if he's going to play, or are you avoiding?
I am terrified of Ken Walker.
I don't blame you.
I have Kenneth Walker. He got me there. He's one of those players that has dragged me to the playoffs in some leagues. He was a late round guy that has looked elite. A lot of people considered him one of the number one dynasty running back.
Sure.
And
I would still argue Breece Hall, but sure.
Sure, but I mean, that's when Breece Hall tore his ACL. You know, it was you have to consider this year too, but now they're both banged up and injured, so it's definitely I think reversed back to where it should be. And Breece Hall is right up there, but San Francisco, one of the best against the run. I think they're 31st against the run.
They are actually the best team against the run currently through 14 weeks. Yeah, what I have it here in front of me, only allowing 13.7, the second best the New England Patriots.
So I think this is the biggest trap game if he plays. If he starts, you might not have a choice,
Sure.
but I think I will be sitting him if I can afford to. I would rather start a Rashad White. I'd
Okay.
rather start JK Dobbins, like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Najee Harris, Montgomery,
Sure.
James Conner, like Zonovan Knight. I'd rather start in a tougher matchup, like you said, who I just still assumed that the Lions were bad against the run. Heck, I might be starting Latavius Murray. I might be doing that in the
Oof.
league where I need to
Oof.
win, picking up Murray against the Arizona defense and starting him because I don't have confidence this week that number one, I'm not sure he
I
plays.
don't think he plays.
So
For me, it's the Thursday game that really is if this was a Sunday game or even a Monday game,
yeah,
I might be reserving a flex spot for Kenneth Walker.
sure.
But the fact that the San Francisco 49ers are the best run defense for fantasy purposes, just allowing almost nothing on the
Hmm.
ground, I think I'm with you. I think it's a trap. I think if you have Kenneth Walker, you hope to um, fight another day. You're just like, I just hope I live through week 15 so that I can fight another day in week 16 and, just brighter days ahead. They play they play Kansas City in week 16, a much better matchup,
Yep.
a higher scoring affair. San Francisco's just, yeah, I agree. It's Trap City. I'm getting
Yep.
away from that one.
Yeah, and I think it's better for you better for everyone if Ken Walker just misses this game.
Yeah, I would love to see him just ruled out instead of he's a game time decision and you have to make that decision right away. Like sometimes it's better for it to just be made for you.
And you know what? There's nothing worse, Mac, than going into your week one of the playoffs with a bad game, with a
Terrible start.
0 or a 4 or like even a 5 spot at the running back position.
Yep.
You're already seeing those red lines that you're favored to lose, and that's just terrible. You need to make up ground, and then that changes maybe your starts of the week, and
Yep.
you got to figure out what to do because you started Ken Walker and that's just recipe for disaster. So at least if you wait until Sunday, you enjoy your Thursday and Friday and Saturday and aren't worried about a bad performance from Mr. Walker.
100%. Bubble boy number 4, we got Travis Etienne. It's been tough for Etienne owners. This past week was troubling. 17 carries for 32 yards, 0 targets in the passing game. And this is a team that scored 33 points who, had every chance to get Travis Etienne involved in the game. And they thought, you know what, the way that we're going to win this game against Tennessee is actually by just targeting Evan Ingram 16 times.
Yeah, apparently that worked.
11 receptions, 160 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It was wild, but less than 2 a carry. It is the second time in the last 3 weeks that he has had this inefficiency. We need to see more out of Travis Etienne. The matchups are not great. Dallas this week, the New York Jets the following week, and then finally, week 17, Houston. We get a bright spot here, but are you really going to roll out Travis Etienne in your fantasy championship should you make it?
Oh, man. This is
I
a
guess
tough
you'll
one.
see how the next 2 weeks go.
I mean, Travis Etienne is considered that fantasy stud. And can you live with
He
yourself
was.
if he has well, I mean, yeah, he was. He was
Yeah.
absolutely considered that.
Yep.
Can you live with yourself? He goes off on your bench. We talked about this earlier. If we saw Houston last week
Yep.
have a good game.
Yep.
We know Travis is a very talented player, and
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence actually looks really good as well. So, are you sitting down Travis Etienne? I feel like you should. I feel like you absolutely should based on the numbers lately. Baltimore,
Yeah. You
Detroit,
should.
Tennessee.
You should. The matchups are bad. He's been on the field, so it's not like he's playing sub 50% snaps. He's still playing 75, 88% snaps. It's just the lack of pass catching work and the lack of efficiency that we're seeing from him. Tennessee's not the best matchup, but I expect more from him. You look at a guy in the middle of the season, it looked like he was going to help you win your league. Now you're saying in week 15, can I even start him?
Yeah.
So unless my options are considerably better, and guys that I can think of at the top of my head, Zonovan Knight kind of qualifies. Rashad White, I would consider. JK Dobbins, I would be, willing to consider that.
That's kind of I have him right now, right around that running back 14. So I
Yeah.
have him actually quite high in front of Connor, Knight, and Zeke.
And I would roll him over like Najee Harris, for example. I would roll
Yeah.
him over David Montgomery.
That's both tough matchups, right? So
Both
that's
tough matchups, yeah.
right.
It's tough.
Both Detroit running backs.
I'm kind of in the same spot with DeAndre Swift as I am Travis Etienne.
Right.
And I think DeAndre Swift is a better football player, but the matchup is so much harder. So
yeah,
between the two, it'd be really tough. I think I would just roll Swift. But Travis Etienne is gonna have to be a player that you forgive to get into your lineup for Week 15 because he's been that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the benefit you have of Travis Etienne, he's on the field 75% of the time, whereas Swift is on the field for 30%. He's back to his old ways, but that we are pulling our hair out watching DeAndre Swift.
That game was also weird, super weird.
It seemed like the best matchup ever.
I know. And the line scored more than 30 points for the 7th time, I think, this year. Just a crazy output on offense.
Swift couldn't get it, and neither did Jamal, right?
Let's talk about our last bubble boy here. And this one's not really a bubble boy, but we're getting a lot of questions about Mark Andrews. It's been a while since we've seen Mark Andrews be that positional advantage that you drafted late August, early September. Has not broken 10 fantasy points in half PPR since week 6. It's been a tough go for Mark Andrews. He's still the tight end 2 on the year. He's still been a top 12 option for you for the last 6 weeks. So this is a guy where it's like, how worried are you about Mark Andrews in this offense? But if you have him, you're probably not pivoting. You're still going to have to play Mark Andrews because he's still producing. He's just not elite. He's just not Travis Kelce,
And that's where he's so far behind. Everyone's so far behind. Schultz, Hawkinson, Andrews, Kittle, they're well below that tier of Travis Kelce. And it's unfortunate. We thought that maybe one of those guys could be close. Heck, we thought Waller would be up there too, maybe could be in the same tier. But I would be looking at Schultz, Hawkinson, and Kittle ahead of Mark Andrews. That's probably where I have things ranked today. But you probably don't
5,
have
right?
Yeah.
5, yeah.
So you likely don't have these guys. You don't have both of these players on your team. You have one of them. But if you're going to go into the waiver wire to pick up Ingram, Kmet, Conklin,
yep,
I'm not willing to go that low.
No, please no. And if for whatever reason Darren Waller pokes his head out this week because he says that he's trending to play week 15, please don't go down that path with him. Please don't do it. Please. I beg you.
We need to monitor Dallas Goedert. If he's available on your waiver wire and you have a spot to blow,
you're picking him up for sure.
I think you should be picking him up right now if you haven't already. He might play this week. And if he does, he's in that same tier as Mark Andrews to me because of the quarterback situation purely, right? Mm-hmm. All these guys except for Kittle backup quarterback, Andrews backup quarterback, he's in that very similar tier where now Goddard, I mean, he has one of the best fantasy quarterbacks in the league.
The one guy who sticks out to me, he is 74% rostered. It's David Njoku. If you can get your hands on him somehow, some way.
Yeah, he's in a good spot.
He's in a great spot. Baltimore, New Orleans, Washington the next 3 weeks. And him and Deshaun are starting to click. So, yeah, if Lamar Jackson is back, that's a huge boost for the Mark Andrews shares. If you can get Tyler Huntley, I feel okay about it. But if you have Mark Andrews, the truth is you're not pivoting off of Mark Andrews. You just got to hope that things get better. But he's not a guy I'm willing to sit down.
Yeah.
I gotta ride with him,
And just look at your roster and decide, because you thought you had that positional advantage,
Sure.
and maybe you're playing against Travis Kelce. So you need to make that up somewhere. So going towards a Christian Watson type player, right? Going towards a Chris Olave, a Mike Evans that have those big games. Mike Evans had that like 70-yard touchdown called back.
Yep.
Obviously hate it. The Mike Williams of the world that really, yes, they could bust your team, but they could boom your team. Maybe lean towards those guys a little bit more because you need to make up ground somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Ayuk isn't there to me. He's a fairly safe wide receiver, but he doesn't make it off of touchdowns and yards. It's kind of one or the other. Like he's not a yardage guy this year. He's a touchdown performer, and if he doesn't have that, he busts you. So that's where I just lineup construction, how you build your lineup. If you have a lot of really good players and you have Mark Andrews, maybe go for that boom play.
I just realized that we have had Sunday Live on the screen for the entire stream. No, it's Thursday.
And nobody noticed.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's get to some questions here, Lando. Starting at the top here, full PPR start 2. It's a little bit early in the week for start sits, unless we're talking about the Thursday games. But ETN, Zonovan Knight, Jamal Williams, or DeAndre Swift, and Rashad White. Got to pick 2 here.
Right. It's in a full PPR league.
Yeah.
Pass.
Okay, so are you willing to roll Travis Etienne, and are you willing to give him a pass
So
here?
he currently is my highest ranked running back right now from that list.
And then who?
And then I would put in Zonovan Knight.
Okay.
So I'm not as high this week on the Detroit Lions. It's a tough matchup. I think Rashad White is very interesting.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's where currently I go. But my to be fair, my rankings are half PPR. I do think that White and Swift get a boost for pass catching, but
They do.
I could I don't know offhand. I can take a look to see what kind of targets my boy Zonovan Knight was getting. Bam Knight.
2 the last week, 5 the week before, 3 the following or the previous week, week 12. So
Not nothing.
Not nothing. Nothing crazy.
Yep.
But he's been very serviceable. I could see a pivot to Zonovan Knight, to be honest. I personally would roll out DeAndre Swift in a full PPR because he's going to get those targets. 8, 6, 4 the last couple weeks. Really weird game against Minnesota. You expected a lot more from DeAndre, to be honest. But
is he hurt again? What's
no,
wrong?
I don't think so.
Because he had that 50% snap share that we want to see. Now we'll monitor that injury report. I don't know why he didn't play that much last week against Mini.
Yeah, I don't know. As of right now, I would be going ETN and Swift. Landon would be going ETN and Knight. I don't fight that Knight versus Swift or Jamal Williams decision, but it's a tough decision to make. 1 flex for a full PPR, Christian Watson or Chris Olave.
I have Watson ranked higher this week.
Yeah, Watson's a guy. Watson's a guy you kind of have to stay in the flames with,
Yeah.
Like, been so good. Chris Olave gets Atlanta though.
It's a good matchup.
Also a really, really good matchup. Yeah, Christian Watson though, against the Rams, feels like you just have to roll him out if you've got him.
I feel like I'm low on Olave. He's right around 22 for me. He hasn't been that good lately, but 9 targets against San Francisco. Obviously had that big game on 5 receptions, 102 yards and a touchdown. I think there was a kind of a busted player, a long touchdown to kind of get him there. But I mean, you can't take that away from the guy. He's really good. I like the talent of Olave much more than Christian Watson.
Sure.
But against the Rams, like, the Green Bay Packers need this win badly, and they seem to go to Watson in the red zone a ton. I wouldn't be surprised if he kept this touchdown streak going.
But you told me it had to end.
It will end.
You did tell me.
It will end, but I don't know if it's this week.
Yeah, he's been great, man. Like, we're talking 7 touchdowns the last 4 weeks and been an absolute monster in a half PPR league, 31, 19, 19, and 23. No signs of stopping.
Like the reception totals are just so low.
But he's that guy. He breaks big plays, he gets into the paint. He's exactly what you want
I
from
know.
a
I
fantasy
know.
wide receiver. I know.
2 games over 100 yards, 2 games under 50 yards, but touchdowns nonetheless.
Doesn't matter when you get into the paint. We got the drum master coming in here. Ended up in first place, but dropped to second because of a fantasy point correction from week 2. Why are we not doing stat corrections after week 2?
Every week, my man.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Holy. That's a terrible way to end your season, but congrats on second place.
Yeah.
Pick 2 wide receivers to start: Chris Godwin, Mike Williams, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or DJ Chark. This is a standard league.
So Godwin now
That knocks Godwin down for me.
It does. It does.
It does.
Yeah.
I
Chark,
think
although he had a great game, I mean, it's a tough,
it's
tougher
a tough
matchup.
matchup against the Jets.
Really, really tough.
So
I still think it's probably Mike and Godwin, though.
I do think it is. If you wanted to get cute, you could chase Donovan Peoples-Jones. I wouldn't be. I would just go Godwin and Williams and leave it at that. Again, like, start your studs, you know?
In this scenario, I think DPJ and Chark are just too far down. Yeah.
If the matchup was any different for DJ Chark, I would probably say, yeah, go for him, because he's produced in back-to-back weeks, looked really good. Same with Donovan Peoples-Jones, but like the matchup's just not great for Chark. And
yeah, if you are hell bent on just getting away from Godwin, just go Donovan Peoples-Jones. Sure, and just don't worry about it.
Also, would we start Bam Knight over Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, or Ramondre Stevenson? Would you start Watson or Rodgers at QB? So what's the word on Stevenson? Is he not out?
I don't think he'll play. It sounds like a high ankle sprain.
Right.
So we've seen it where guys hurt their ankle but battle through it because the swelling hasn't really gone up yet.
Yep.
He tried to get back in and couldn't. He was out for half the game. So I don't expect him to play this week. Prepare for Stevenson to miss. So if you can start Knight, Sanders, and Dalvin Cook, that's what I would do. No question.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sitting any of those guys. If it's a high ankle sprain, that's typically a 2 to 3 week injury. That's what Deebo Samuel is dealing with right now. Yes, you didn't lose Deebo Samuel for the year, but you lost him for the fantasy season. Like, he's not going to be back until the actual NFL playoffs. So if Ramondre Stevenson is dealing with the same thing, you lost him too.
And I'm ranking them, I think, Dalvin and then Sanders.
Sure.
Just to, I would set Bam Knight out of those guys.
I think you have to.
Yeah. Indianapolis is a great matchup for Dalvin.
Watson or Rodgers? We've got Deshaun Watson going up against the Ravens. We have Aaron Rodgers up against the Rams.
I'll leave this one to you.
I would go Deshaun Watson.
All right.
There's almost no reason to start Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Yeah.
Hate to say it. Tee Higgins or Jerry Jeudy? I did say Jerry Jeudy.
We talked about this earlier. Jerry Jeudy.
Jones or Higgins? I drew the line there. I would go Higgins if he practices. I think that's the caveat there, is that if he does practice.
I think you said Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I did not.
You sure? Okay.
I said that's like the line for me.
Okay. Yeah. All
right. Tee Higgins or Christian Watson? I would go Christian Watson over Tee Higgins. I would go Tee Higgins over Donovan Peoples-Jones, with the caveat that he practices.
I think I left just because of the injury. I did leave T, I believe, off my rankings so far this week. But that's the thing. We gotta monitor. If he practices all week, I'm playing Tee Higgins.
We got our Snap Army member, Chris Timmons. What are we doing with Jeudy if Wilson is out? I'm still gonna start Jeudy.
I am expecting Wilson to miss. He's not gonna play. There's no way.
No,
with what happened with Tua, they have nothing to play for.
Yeah.
He got his bell rung by the ground.
They paid $250 million for him. They should probably try to keep him somewhat healthy.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to play.
It was one of those bang bang plays where you're like, That's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I because of Cortland Sutton, I assume he's going to miss. If he plays, I think that downgrades Jerry Jeudy. But if he doesn't, Jeudy should see the targets.
Yeah, and then him and Rippon connected for a touchdown.
It's like a volume play on a bad offense. Like
it is, and that's what you want. You want the volume. So
does that feel like Deontay Johnson?
Yes.
Like it's very similar to Deontay. Like in a PPR league, you'll be fine.
Jerry Jeudy scored more touchdowns in one game than Deontay has the whole season.
That is true. But
because Deontay hasn't scored
this year.
He's at 0 still.
Yeah.
Will he get into the end zone, you think?
Have you seen all the targets he's been getting?
Yeah.
It's been close. Like it feels like every week there's at least one.
This feels honestly like Jacoby Myers a couple years ago, where it's like, is this guy gonna ever score his first touchdown? Like it was just we're just waiting, and
no. They are trying, and it sounds like Trubisky is gonna play this week. I don't know if Kenny Pickett's gonna be active.
They've been, in my opinion, they've been better.
It makes no difference, really.
They've been better with Mitch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Deontay Johnson has good games when Trubisky's at quarterback, and has poor game, and George Pickens only has good games with Pickett.
Yeah.
Like Mitchell Trubisky started the first 3 weeks of the year, I believe. 12 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets. 7 for 55, 6 for 57, 8 for 84. Like he's not getting a ton. His average up the target is low, but like he's getting double-digit targets. That's great. This week, 6 for 82 on 8 targets.
Yeah.
It's, it's in a PPR league, you're staying afloat with that kind of performance.
Deontay has to be one of those guys that the expert rankings has pretty high every single week, and he just has never lived up to any ranking ever. Like he's talented.
It's hard to do without touchdowns. It really is.
It is. He's a good wide receiver. He really is. It's just if he was on any other team.
Sure. Start one wide receiver, one at the flex: Waddle, Jeudy, Hollywood, Dobbins, or Rachaad White. We did a video today on Jalen Waddle, what to do with him. It's so tough, man.
If Tyreek Hill is out, what do you think the deal is with Tyreek Hill? Do you think he plays?
It's fine. Yeah, I think he plays.
Yeah.
He was getting some work on the sidelines, but he played through it.
Yeah.
He scored 2 touchdowns.
Could be limited.
Beating double, triple coverage. Like,
yeah,
Ty Hill's going to play.
That's just what he does.
As of right now, I don't know, Jeff, what my answer will be with Waddle. I want to see how he practices this week. I want to see how bad the weather actually is in Buffalo come Sunday. There's a lot of factors there. As of right now, it's still be leaning Waddle, but that could change. I think Jeudy and Hollywood are both good pivots at the wide receiver position, so it's not like you're out of luck there. You've got 2 good options to back up. Dobbins or White. I would go Dobbins over White going into this week. But again, if Lamar's playing or not, that kind of dictates my confidence on Dobbins and how much he'll be relied upon to carry the offense. And then, maybe the answer will be 2 of the wide receivers and none of the running backs. Like we got to kind of see how the week plays itself out. As to your question about Goff or Watson, I would be playing Watson this week. I don't want a ton of Jared Goff against the New York Jets.
Yeah. I think I would just go Goff because he's been so good.
He has been good. The New York Jets, though, are the sixth best against the opposing fantasy quarterbacks and number 1 schedule adjusted rank. Like they are just shut down.
Yeah, they really are. It feels like it's going to be a really good game. Like it could be a bit of a shootout game. I
would love that.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah. Puro picked up the Lions D, which I don't hate.
No,
I don't hate whatsoever.
No, they're like you said, they've been better than like your memory or what you think. Their perception is they're better than your perception. They've got a great pass rush.
Yep.
Some very talented players. If you're a Lions fan, we talked about this live. I think you're looking good. I like that team a lot.
Yeah, people are agreeing. No Kenneth Walker, 49ers top defensive front. They are the number 1 against fantasy running backs. I agree. They are hungry. and they're playing with a little bit of pain. They're going to be without Debo. And wheels up for Christian McCaffrey going up against the second softest run defense. The boy's going to eat. That's a great way to start your fantasy playoffs if you got Christian McCaffrey on a Thursday.
Yeah, if so right now, if you are set at your positions and you have spare bench spots or you get to drop like Kyler Murray, you should consider handcuffing your players. So adding a Jordan Mason if you have McCaffrey is a solid play, because I think that he has that backup role secured.
Sure.
McCaffrey has shown, knock on wood, to get injured.
Yeah.
So,
I just don't know that you want to roll Jordan Mason out in a fantasy playoff, but sure.
I mean, but
it's not the best example of what you're trying to say, but I agree with you.
I would. Opportunity is king against Washington and Vegas in the finals. I mean, last year Rashad Penny did it. Like,
Rashad Penny was also a first round pick.
But
it's a different caliber of talent. But I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. I just don't know that Jordan Mason's my number one example for what you're trying to say.
We've had bad players win fantasy championships. Damian Williams comes to mind.
Tim Hightower years ago for the Seattle Seahawks. I remember.
Yeah.
But no, like, look, I'm not there on Jordan Mason. I'm not, but I get where you're coming from. I do understand it.
I just think it would be a savvy move if something were to happen to your starter. You're not fighting on the waiver wire with someone else.
Yeah, if you have that luxury, like you lost Kyler, it's a redraft league, you can just drop him. Like, go ahead and do that. It's fine. Would you play Elijah Moore this week over Chris Godwin? I would not.
Nah. They have a great matchup, obviously, versus the Lions, but
currently have the Raiders on defense. Should I grab the Broncos or Packers defense instead? Yes, I think both of those are better options than the Raiders.
Either one, I think, is better. Raiders do not have a good defense, except for Mason Crosby. That guy is a boss. He's so good.
You mean not
Mason Crosby. Max Crosby, man.
Mason Crosby is a decent kicker.
He's your boss. You love
He ain't getting no sacks though.
No.
Would we start Taysom Hill? Not a lot of attractive tight end options on the waivers. I don't know. I think Taysom Hill's too much of a risky play for me in my fantasy playoffs, because honestly, I just can't afford the zero. Like, he could legitimately just get zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
He's done it more times than he's helped you. So no. Watson or Dak, Steelers or Browns, Ingram or Andrews. There it is.
Yep.
Exactly what I talked about in the beginning of the show. I'm going to go Dak. I'm going to go Steelers. And I'm going to go Andrews.
Yep. I agree with all those.
Beautiful. ETN, Zonovan Knight, or Mike Evans at the flex this week. Again, a little too early for these questions. However, right now, I would be leaning Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It feels bad. I get it. I don't own Travis Etienne anywhere. I was jealous as heck for people that had Travis Etienne. Like, he looked like he was that league winner that he got late.
Yep.
Maybe a keeper that he got last year because he got hurt in the preseason, But, yeah. Zonovan, I like a lot this week, but he's not as high for me this week as Travis Etienne. And Mike Evans is a kind of an easy set right now, unfortunately, based on those guys.
No, I agree. The matchup is okay against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
The volume for Tom Brady has been great. As a streaming option.
Yes.
Yeah, his passing attempts as a streaming option, he hasn't been viable, but the volume is good for the pass catchers. So I like the volume. I'd like to see him hook up with Mike Evans a little bit more. The one that they did hit for like a 66-yard touchdown gets called back. That changes everyone's perception about Mike Evans.
It does. It does.
Unfortunately, that happened, but check back in with us on Sunday, and we'll help you out with that one. Goddard coming back from injury or Kittle with Debo out. I think this one is just a slam dunk Kittle.
Yeah, you just play Kittle, Alex. That's Goddard. I'm excited. Like, I'm hoping he comes back because, like everyone has said in this stream too, the tight end position is terrible. Like, unless you have Travis Kelce, like you get busts every single week. So
Yeah.
you are, I will roll Goddard out if you are rolling a Foster Moreau
Sure.
or I mean any of the streaming tight ends, but not, unfortunately, Kittle does not qualify for that.
No, and like there's a couple reasons why I really like this. Number one, Debo's out, and no, I'm not afraid of Brock Purdy. He's looked actually pretty good for being the last player drafted. Number two, the Seattle Seahawks are giving up the second most points to opposing fantasy tight ends at 14 points per game in a half PPR setting. So this is a smash opportunity for George Kittle's soft defense, more opportunity, consolidated target share. I'm going George Kittle, and yeah, Dallas Goedert was great, but the stars have aligned here.
There's risk here. There's risk for
sure.
Goddard. He hasn't been healthy every week. If he was, I think it would be Goddard, but you can't trust a guy coming back off that injury.
No, unfortunately not. And this is an offense that has been rolling. The Philadelphia Eagles, with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith doing what they're doing. Miles Sanders, first Eagles runner since 2014 to break 1,000 yards. Like they've got some focal points of the offense, and Dallas Goedert's going to have to work his way back into relevancy. And I don't know, coming back off an injury, we haven't seen him for 5 weeks.
Goddard, yeah, it's been
since week 10.
Yeah.
Herbert or Fields? Alex also asking.
I'm playing Herbert.
Herbert against the Titans.
Yeah.
Fields against Philly will be a tough task.
Yeah.
You're going to have him be probably overly productive with his legs in order to beat out Herbert. Herbert was throwing lasers all over the field. That guy looked fantastic.
When you have your bona fide stud, all-star, elite, not fraudulent at all wide receiver Mike Williams back, it makes a massive difference. And you saw that this past week. It was
so certified, not fraudulent at all.
It's clear as day.
So good.
It was clear as day. And honestly, like no joke, you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams back, and it really does make a world of difference for Herbert. And now he's back up in that top tier, or maybe second tier below Hurts, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. He's right there, though.
Not to mention the number one running back in full PPR, Austin Eckler.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to me.
I got Amon-Ra, D-Hop, Evans, and Judy at wide receiver, starting the first two. Should I change anything? No.
Nope.
Amon-Ra is like somebody right now that, regardless of the matchup, the volume is king, and I hope that he can just kind of do what he's been doing. But there's literally no reason to sit him down, and the same thing exists with DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he has been so good since coming back. Anybody who decided, you know what, I'm going to take a risk on DeAndre Hopkins in the 6th round of my draft. I'm going to eat the first 6 weeks, and I'm just going to hope that he's that guy for me. He's been that guy for you.
Yeah.
He's been so good. I don't think it really changes with Colt McCoy, or without like Kyler or Colt McCoy. I don't really care.
No.
Fantasy finishes. He's been a wide receiver 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. This past week was a 3. But he has been wide receiver 15 or better 5 of the last 7 weeks.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. Gets those touchdowns too. So regardless of the scoring format, he's getting you fantasy points.
Yep, agreed. Start Taysom Hill or risk starting Goddard? If Goddard plays, I would start Goddard over Taysom Hill.
Agreed.
Yep. In case Mike White is good to go, should I start him over Watson? No.
Yeah, Mike White is in a great spot. It really is. But yeah, I think Watson is it. Now, his 3rd game back, I think he's going to be a lot better this week.
And you know what? There was a progression this last week to the week prior. Like
well, for sure.
He looked much better. He threw the ball twice as much. He was just doubly productive. And he was, productive on the ground too. 6 for 33 on the ground. Where, Mike White's been decent. Played Buffalo last week. Tough matchup. There was a little bit of weather. Where did Mike White what was Mike White's output, and where did he finish as a fantasy quarterback on the week? Off the top of your head, if you just had to guess.
Where he finished this past week?
Yeah.
Man, he got destroyed. Like he was in and out of that game like a
Oh, he
lot.
was an absolute warrior. Yeah,
Yeah.
he went through hell and back.
Yeah.
Where did he finish this week?
I would think he had about 17 fantasy points, if I were to guess.
9.7.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, not great.
Not great. How many did Deshaun have?
I think he had 20, didn't he?
Yeah, 19.4.
There you go.
It was weird that they had Jacoby come in on a couple plays. I don't love that. Like I think they gotta get rid of that crap. Like that there's no point. But
I think they will. I think they'll get rid of that.
Mike White against Detroit, good matchup. Deshaun Watson against Baltimore, decent matchup, especially if there's no Lamar. I like Deshaun. I'm going Deshaun there.
Yeah.
Are y'all James Conner's truthers yet after yesterday? Not even close.
Not a truther, but the best thing I love about Conner is he's on the field all the time.
Yeah, the one thing that's lovely about him is that he gets the ball.
Like 95% of snaps. He had 7 targets, and with McCoy, I think I expect him to get that again. Like,
sure.
So yeah, he's on the field a ton. I mean, that volume is king in fantasy football. If he's healthy, he's on the field. He's a start. He's a good play.
Yeah, I mean, the last 4 weeks are great weeks for James Conner truthers, no doubt about it. Where were you the first 8 weeks of the year when he didn't have a finish better than running back 20? You know, it's really a tale of 2 seasons right now with James Conner. The last 4 games, there's no denying he's been fantastic. Denver, Tampa Bay, 2 tough matchups. No Kyler Murray. We'll see how much of the offense he can hold. Atlanta in week 17 is no doubt going to be juicy. So this is a guy who has 0 James Conner shares, So I'm not a truther. I'm not a fan. I still think he's a very touchdown dependent running back, but the last 4 weeks have been really good.
They have been good.
Yeah.
Tough matchup this week against Denver, but it's both the battle of the backups.
Sure. Mike White or Tua? Got to play Tua.
I think you should play Tua. Yeah. Not with a ton of confidence, but you absolutely should. He got you where you are now, and against Buffalo, tough matchup. He's got the weapons. Like I understand Garrett Wilson is elite, but he's got Tyreek and then Waddle, who are better than Garrett Wilson. It could be a bit of a shootout against Buffalo. Might be a fun game to watch.
The first time that they met, it was a really fun game to watch. Week 3.
Yeah. Shouldn't be scared.
I mean, I do understand the fade, especially if he's without Waddle, he's without Hill for whatever reason. It's a weather game. I do understand the pivot. I just don't know if I'm willing to go to Mike White.
Yeah.
That might be too low.
Tua is not hurt, is he? I don't think he's hurt.
No, I'm just saying if he's without options.
Yeah. I think Mike White has a higher probability of being hurt right now. Like I just mentioned, he got his ribs are probably, there might be a fracture. But he just kept coming back in because they don't have anyone else. Joe Flacco refused to go in the game.
Well, no, he did go into the game and he got blown up too.
Yeah, fumbled or something. I think Joe Flacco would sooner just bench me, take healthy scratch me this week and just get Zach Wilson back in there.
Really interesting question. We haven't brought up this news at all, but T.Y. Hilton joins the Dallas Cowboys. Are you willing to roll him out for the playoffs at all?
No.
Not even close. No, it's this is a 33-year-old wide receiver who the last time we saw him play, he was decent. Maybe. Kinda. 23 receptions, 331 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Indianapolis Colts. Really hasn't had a relevant fantasy season since 2018. flashes here and there. I'm not looking to play any T.Y. Hilton. I'm struggling myself to play Michael Gallup with confidence. I don't need to go further down the list and go to T.Y. Hilton. If I'm going to play another tertiary receiver from the Dallas Cowboys, I think Noah Brown is worth a play in deeper leagues. Like I had to stash or pick him up off waivers in our Snap OG league to play him because Cortland Sutton went down. And Noah Brown was fine for me.
Sure. Yeah.
I think he had 4 receptions for, I want to say 70 some odd yards. Like he was good.
Why is Cole Beasley coming out of retirement?
To release more rap tracks. He's got to get some funds.
He played against Green Bay 14% of snaps, and then against Kansas City 6% of snaps, 1 target, in 4 targets the previous game, and then he hasn't played since week 4. He's not going to be in football shape. He's also a 33-year-old wide receiver, and I don't know what's going on.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, I understand Mike Waite plays the Detroit Lions. I do get that.
Yep. It could be a very fun game. It could be a high over-under game. He had his coming out party against Chicago. It was a great. I just don't know if he has 315 yards and 3 in him this week with potentially broken ribs. I don't know.
This is why, Alex, I can't take your James Conner love seriously, because T.Y. Hilton is not a better OBJ. Or is not better than OBJ. That's the craziest thing I've ever read.
I mean, maybe right now with OBJ having a broken knee,
OBJ could be on crutches and be better than T.Y. Hilton.
Well, that's just inaccurate.
I do agree he's ring chasing. I don't know that Buffalo needs him, but I think that would be a lot of fun. I thought he would have landed by now, but
I think it's really his knee. I think it's not quite up to
par.
Yeah, that's his second ACL.
But even for him, if he's anywhere close, he's got to join a team soon to get accustomed to the playbook and get acquainted with his teammates. There's got to be some sort of chemistry built if he's going to join a completely new team.
Yeah.
And there's no way he's going back to the Rams. So
did you hear when Baker came in, he actually wasn't running plays. He was calling the routes for the wide receivers, in the huddle.
Shout out to Baker. To come into the team on a Tuesday and win on a Thursday is just the most. And when everyone counted you out, they were double-digit dogs. And yeah, he's good on him.
Yo,
he probably just bought himself another contract.
Post route, out route, hitch. He's telling them what to do. Apparently Big Ben used to do that too. Was calling at the line of scrimmage. He's yo, run it out. It's not a play, but he's just changing the routes and yelling what route to run.
He's just playing Madden. He's just hot routing guys.
Yeah,
you come over here, you run a little post. He's just do that. If you do that 5 steps and an out route, I can hit you. I know where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
No, good for him. How do we feel about Ken Walker, given the Thursday game, the Niners defense, and the injury? We already talked about this one, Alex, but we'll kind of go through it again. Ken Walker feels like a trap.
Yeah, I'm really scared.
It feels like somebody you should get away with on a short week against the number 1 run defense. They're only giving up, I believe off the top of my head, it was 13 points a game to opposing fantasy running backs. So, the matchup is tough. They're coming off a short week, and Ken Walker might not even play. But if he does, I'm going to sit him down and just live to fight another day, hopefully.
Yeah. Kansas
City in week 16, that's a much better matchup. So hopefully you can survive without him and pivot elsewhere. But
yeah,
thank you for the sticker, Alex.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Really, really appreciate it. Alex is here every single week. We appreciate you, the banter, the discussions. Maybe you'll
the James Conner love. Somebody's got to bring that. This nobody here does. So
exactly.
The resident James Conner truther. Yeah. We need that.
You want to join a podcast, Alex?
Ryan saying Beasley's definitely a fan favorite. I agree. His COVID. He released a COVID rap mixtape. It was vaccines and stuff. It was super cringy. He's a polarizing figure for sure, but Hell of a football player. I'll give him that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like at the end of the day, we're playing fantasy football. If he puts up fantasy points, don't care.
Yeah. Why would you?
Yeah.
I'm indebted to Connor after last year.
Are you sure you're not producer Scott hiding under a burner account?
Alex Ayala. It's got a nice ring, man.
Yeah.
Crystal got a big question here, but anything that we would adjust given this roster, I think your biggest questions are going to be what do you do at running back? And my early leans, Mixon and Rashad White is where I would go.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're pretty set at wide receiver. St. Brown, Kirk, and Jamar Chase should probably be in your lineup. Brandon Ayuk is probably a strong flex consideration. There's nobody that I would target per se. The only one would be the defense of the Browns. I know they had a huge output in one league I play in. The Browns had 31 points for me
Against Houston, wasn't it?
against Houston. I'm not looking to play the Browns this week. However, I think there's much better matchups, which we will detail here in a second when your questions run out. But I think there are better options. So that's the only thing I would adjust. And then Mixon and White are the running backs I would roll with.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. McKinnon and Ingram dropping Cordell Patterson. I mean, you could. McKinnon feels like the running back they want to feature, but it's still just not enough to warrant fantasy relevancy, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's got the big plays like we saw. He's a pass catcher, which is great for PPR leagues. But Isaiah Pacheco also looks really good. Like he looks explosive. It's going to be a mixed backfield. You're going to have the big games and you're going to have the dud.
Yeah, trading for Connor when he took the dip was, in hindsight, really, really good move. It's not something that I was advocating, but for those of you who took that leaf, like, congrats. Good for you guys because that was value. So if you did that, that might win you a league this year. He's picking up steam. He's looking like the offense.
Yep.
Gotta give credit where credit's due, even if I don't, love the players. I'll eat that crow. It's fine with me.
That's it.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's talk about some defenses here before we close out the show, Lando. We talked about the Chiefs in previous weeks. I think like week 12, we started bringing up the Kansas City Chiefs have a really nice schedule for whatever reason, if they're still available. Currently 65% rostered on Sleeper. They have remaining, coming off a 15-point performance, the Houston Texans, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Denver Broncos again in championship week. Without Russell Wilson, potentially, that looks like a really nice matchup again.
Yes, it does.
The Chiefs are a strong contender. Who else do you like? You've got, pretty good eye here on top contenders for the defensive position.
So my defense you can add this week that you should consider starting: the Saints and the Packers. Those are two teams I like this week. I think the Steelers are right there as well. They let a lot of people down this past week. Carolina is a good matchup. They do like to run the ball. That doesn't lead to fantasy points. Just because it's a bad offense. If all they do is run the ball, that limits turnovers, interceptions, and sacks. And that's what gets you points. So you actually want a team that throws a lot, could lead to tip balls, interceptions, sacks. It doesn't matter so much if both teams are scoring. If one team gets those points, that's really what you're looking for.
Yeah, the Packers are in a really good spot. As good as Baker Mayfield played, he still has a tendency to turn the ball over.
Oh yeah.
So the Green Bay Packers currently right now on sleeper leagues only 20% rostered. They had a bye week last week, so a lot of people may have dropped them. So they are definitely available. Probably going to go through a lot of waivers tomorrow morning or early tonight. We'll see how that plays out. Atlanta going up against the Saints. I do like that. There's rumors that Desmond Ridder is going to get his first NFL start, which is, he could be great or he could be very Desmond Ridder, very rookie quarterbacky.
There's a reason why he hasn't starting until week 15.
Fair.
So I know you don't love this, Mac, but the Broncos, Arizona, and the Rams the next 2 weeks, you could do worse.
I don't mind the Broncos. Their defense is fantastic. Like fantasy points aside per position, the Denver Broncos are just a good NFL defense.
Yes, they are.
You know,
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And Arizona and Los Angeles Rams the next couple weeks, you could definitely do worse. Agreed.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh against Carolina. I know you mentioned that one. That one also pops into the rankings. But yeah, I mean the top defenses: the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Niners, the Bills. Those are probably your top four, and top 4 or 5 defenses this week, probably.
If you were on bye for some reason, because Ryan just brought up the Titans next week, I think
I did bring that up.
Yeah, looking at week 16 is very valuable. Obviously, the Titans play the Texans, so that's despite the Titans giving up a ton to the wide receiver and everything.
Yeah.
I think that's an absolutely fine play.
Yeah, the week 8 they played the Houston Texans. They scored 9 fantasy points.
Yep. I don't think they're going to be league winners like the
No, but it's going to be a good matchup.
Were.
Yep.
But
if you are on bye, you could scoop the Titans this week because no one's going to be playing him this week, and you could definitely stash them for that Houston matchup. So yeah, if you have that luxury, then take advantage of it.
The other one, you can't at the Ravens. They play the Falcons. That would be a good matchup. The Jets you can't grab.
No.
Oof.
Do we lean Saints or Packers this week? I think I lean the Packers.
Yeah, I think it's super close. Yeah, I'm good with the Packers. I think they're both very available. I like the Packers, and I mean you're obviously a Packers fan.
No bias here. I have like literally no Packers players historically as like a fantasy player. Like even when Devontae Adams was doing his thing, I really didn't own him. I've never had Aaron Rodgers in fantasy. I don't. And I think the only person I have like a lot of shares of is Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, yeah.
For the most part, I wavered him in a lot of leagues. I scooped him up in dynasty leagues in like, 3rd, 4th round rookie drafts. But for the most part, like Aaron Jones is the only guy I have a lot of, and then Christian Watson after this year. But for the most part, I don't roster my own team. I don't want to have to deal with the bias. I think it's a tough one.
You just want them to score. You don't care how they score.
Correct. Yeah, I'd rather them win than have to go to players. But if I'm watching the Bengals, every target better go Jamar Chase's way. If Ramondre is out, Rachaad White or Jerick McKinnon in a full PPR, I would go Rachaad White.
I agree, Drew
Vano. Feels weird for you to say that, considering your fiance's name is Drew.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. That's probably a good enough stream here, an hour and 13 in.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys being with us. Good luck this week. The Thursday game looks like it's going to be an interesting one. Again, the 49ers and the Seahawks. We also have, I wanted to bring up a Saturday game this week.
Right.
3 Saturday games. We have the Colts Vikings, the Ravens Browns, and the Dolphins Bills. So any of those teams that you are considering, playing those players, make sure they're in their positional spots. They are out of your flexes, and we'll take those players off the table for the Sunday live stream. We will see you 90 minutes before kickoff, Eastern Standard Time, so 11:30. Good luck. You guys are issuing good luck on the way out. Appreciate you guys coming by. Thanks so much for the banter, the chatter, and we'll see you. Go Packers.
See you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.